Shocking twist in Port Charles, Monica's forge will unravel a web of deceit. A major bombshell has rocked the Quartermain family in General Hospital, as a stunning discovery threatens to expose a criminal conspiracy that nearly cost them their iconic mansion. The revelation centers on Monica Quartermain's will and, more importantly, the fake version that almost tore the family apart. The moment everything changed. The tension at the Quartermain mansion was palpable when Tracy Quartermain stumbled upon what would become the case of the season. While organizing family documents in the study, Tracy's eyes widened as she discovered Monica's authentic last will and testament. Her heart raced as she compared it to the version everyone had been operating under, the one that left Monica's entire estate to Ronnie. "This can't be right," Tracy muttered to herself, her hands trembling as she held both documents. The discrepancies were glaring, undeniable. The signatures didn't match perfectly. The witness information was inconsistent. Everything pointed to one terrifying conclusion. Someone had forged Monica's will. The implications hit Tracy like a tidal wave. If the previous will was fake, that meant Ronnie, who had been celebrating her inheritance, was about to lose everything. More critically, it meant someone in Port Charles had committed fraud on a massive scale, and the Quartermain family had been played. There was no hesitation. Tracy immediately reached for her phone and dialed the Port Charles Police Department. This was too serious, too dangerous to handle privately. The investigation begins. Within hours, Detective Dante Falconieri and Commissioner Anna Devane arrived at the mansion. The gravity of the situation was evident as they examined both documents. Dante's experience as a detective told him they were looking at a sophisticated forgery. Someone with knowledge and access had orchestrated this crime. "This is a serious matter," Dante said, his voice steady but edged with concern. "We're talking about document forgery, fraud, and intentional conspiracy. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." Anna leaned in, studying the signatures under the light. "Someone wanted the Quartermains to lose everything to Ronnie. That's not random. This is personal." Tracy stood nearby, her jaw clenched. "Then find out who it is. I don't care how long it takes." The investigation moved quickly. Dante and Anna compiled a list of suspects, anyone with access to Monica's personal documents and the legal knowledge to create a convincing forgery. They examined the paper, the ink, the signatures with forensic precision. But the breakthrough came faster than expected. The confession. As Dante dug deeper into the timeline, he discovered that the forged documents had been processed through a law office. One name kept appearing in connection with the paperwork: Martin. When confronted at the police station, Martin didn't deny it. In fact, he seemed almost resigned to being caught. His face was cold, devoid of the typical panic or defensiveness most criminals displayed when cornered. "Yeah, I did it," Martin said flatly, sitting across from Dante in the interrogation room. "I forged Monica's will. I made sure it would give everything to Ronnie instead." Dante's eyes narrowed. "Why? What did you have to gain?" Martin's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile, more like a grimace of satisfaction. "Because I hate Tracy. I hate the entire Quartermain family. They think they're better than everyone else, that their money and their name make them untouchable. I wanted to destroy them." Anna, who had been listening from the observation room, felt her frustration mount. This wasn't about money or revenge in the traditional sense. This was about pure, unadulterated hatred twisted into a criminal act. "You realize you committed multiple felonies," Dante said coldly. "Forgery, fraud, conspiracy. You're looking at serious prison time." Martin shrugged, the gesture infuriating in its indifference. "Worth it. The aftermath, consequences." The confession sent shockwaves through Port Charles. Martin was formally charged and arrested, with bail set impossibly high. The legal system would take its course, and prison time seemed inevitable given the weight of evidence and his admission of guilt. Tracy's reaction was swift and fierce. When she learned the details of Martin's confession, her anger reached a fever pitch. "He nearly destroyed us," she snapped, her voice cutting through the Quartermain mansion like a whip. "Our home, our legacy, Everything we've built, all of it was on the line because of one man's petty hatred. And for what? So Ronnie could inherit money that was never intended for her? The fallout for Ronnie was equally devastating, though in different ways. Once the courts confirmed the original will was fraudulent, Ronnie faced a nightmare scenario. The inheritance that she had believed was hers, that she had already begun to imagine spending, evaporated instantly. She would walk away from Port Charles with nothing, no inheritance, no claim to Monica's estate, and the bitter knowledge that she had been the pawn in someone else's vendetta. Ronnie attempted to fight it, claiming she had been an innocent victim, but the courts were unmoved. The authentic will was clear. Monica had made specific provisions for her legitimate heirs, and Ronnie was not among them. Within weeks, she departed Port Charles, her dreams of newfound wealth shattered. Questions and reflections. As Port Charles digested the scandal, one question echoed through the community. How deep was Martin's hatred for the Quartermains? What had they supposedly done to provoke such an elaborate revenge scheme? For Tracy, the answer mattered less than the resolution. What mattered was that her family had survived. The Q Mansion, the symbol of Quartermain power and prestige, remained in their possession. The estate was secure. Monica's true wishes would be honored. But the near miss haunted her. We came within inches of losing everything, she confided to Alan during a rare quiet moment in the mansion's study, all because of one man's grudge and his willingness to commit fraud. The police investigation also raised concerns about security measures that could have prevented such a sophisticated forgery. How had Martin accessed Monica's personal documents? Who had helped him? Were there others involved in the conspiracy? The legal proceedings. As Martin awaited trial, the legal system in Port Charles prepared for what promised to be a high-profile case. The Quartermain name ensured media attention, and every detail of the forged will case would be scrutinized and debated in courtrooms and dinner tables across the city. Dante remained thorough in his investigation, ensuring that no stone was left unturned. Anna worked behind the scenes, exploring whether Martin had connections to other crimes in Port Charles. The security of forged documents was no laughing matter if Martin had successfully pulled this off. There was no telling what other frauds might be lurking in the city's legal system. For the citizens of Port Charles, the case served as a reminder: money, power, and old family names didn't guarantee safety. Hatred could be a powerful motivator, and sometimes it manifested in ways that shocked everyone involved. A family restored, a question answered. In the end, the Quartermain family had weathered another storm. The truth had emerged. Justice was being pursued. And most importantly, Monica's final wishes would be honored exactly as she had intended. Tracy could finally breathe easy, though she knew the road ahead wouldn't be simple. There would be legal proceedings to attend, testimony to give, and questions to answer. But the Q Mansion would remain in Quartermain hands, and that was what mattered most. As for Martin, he would face the consequences of his actions in a prison cell, and Ronnie would fade into obscurity, leaving Port Charles as suddenly as she had arrived. Sometimes in Port Charles, the truth won out, even when the path to discovering it was twisted and dangerous. The scandal had reminded everyone in this community that nothing was as it seemed, and that beneath the polished surfaces of Port Charles's elite families, dangerous secrets and violent emotions simmered, waiting for their moment to explode into chaos. Next, we will learn about the heartbreaking one-year anniversary of Samantha Sam McCall's tragic demise in Port Charles. On that fateful October 30th, the beloved character met her untimely end, leaving fans reeling from the shock of her sudden exit from the canvas. Sam's story concluded in a whirlwind of medical heroism and villainous interference, as she had generously donated part of her liver to save her close friend Lulu Spencer, who was battling severe organ failure after a series of dramatic accidents tied to the Casadini family's lingering secrets. The surgery itself went smoothly, with doctors at General Hospital praising Sam's resilience and quick recovery. But tragedy struck when the deranged Cyrus Renault infiltrated her recovery room under the cover of night. Cyrus, a self-proclaimed zealot convinced he was an instrument of divine justice, tampered with her for line by injecting a lethal overdose of digitalis, the potent heart medication that triggered a massive cardiac arrest right there in the sterile halls of the hospital. Nurses and doctors rushed to her side, performing frantic CPR and administering counteragents, but the damage was irreversible, and Sam slipped away peacefully. Her final words a whispered plea for her children Danny and Scout to be strong. This plot twist felt rushed and unsatisfying to many viewers, sparking endless debates on forums about whether the writers intended it as a temporary exit or a permanent farewell, especially since early hints suggested a rare liver rejection complication rather than outright murder. Cyrus's motives delved deeper into his twisted psyche, portraying him as a cult-like figure who viewed death as a merciful release from earthly suffering. He targeted Lulu first, seeing her coma-induced by a car crash orchestrated by his own criminal network as a sign from above that she needed to join her maker to escape the chaos of Port Charles. Sam's intervention, as Lulu's devoted savior and a symbol of unyielding loyalty, positioned her as an obstacle in Cyrus's delusional mission. He rationalized her elimination as collateral damage in his quest for spiritual purification. Flashbacks revealed Cyrus lurking in the shadows of the hospital's subbasement, where he had been hiding after evading capture following a botched prison break, muttering prayers over vials of the drug while hallucinating visions of angelic figures urging him onward. Fans dissected this arc for weeks, pointing out inconsistencies like how Cyrus bypassed the hospital's tightened security post his previous rampage, and theorizing that perhaps a hidden ally within the staff enabled his access, adding layers of intrigue to what could have been a simpler revenge tale. The storyline echoed classic GH villainy, reminiscent of past antagonists like Helena Casadini, but critics argued it undermined Sam's agency by reducing her fate to a pawn in someone else's fanaticism. When news broke that Kelly Monaco, the actress behind Sam, had been let go from the show, the outcry from the GH faithful was immediate and unrelenting, transforming into one of the most organized fan uprisings in soap history. Petitions surged online, amassing over 500,000 signatures within days, demanding ABC reconsider the decision amid rumors of budget cuts and shifting creative directions. Billboards emblazoned with Save Sam McCall. Justice for Jasam popped up along major highways in Los Angeles and New York, funded by grassroots crowdfunding from devoted viewers who had followed the character for decades. Boycott threads flooded social media, with hashtags like WooandSamBack trending globally, and even celebrities from other soaps voiced support, amplifying the pressure on producers during network upfronts. Protests outside ABC studios featured fans in Sam-inspired leather jackets, chanting slogans and holding vigil candles shaped like the Port Charles skyline. Despite the fervor, the campaign ultimately faltered as executive decisions prioritized fresh narratives, but it highlighted the deep emotional investment fans have in long-running icons like Sam. This movement not only spotlighted labor issues in daytime TV, but also reignited discussions on character longevity, with some speculating it influenced subtle nods to Sam's legacy in subsequent episodes. Kelly Monaco's portrayal of Sam McCall spanned an impressive 21 years, from her debut in October to 2003 as a cunning drifter arriving in Port Charles with a mysterious past, to her final scenes in October 2024, evolving the role into a cornerstone of GH's emotional core. Viewers watched Sam navigate from shady cons involving forged identities and high-stakes heists such as her early entanglement in the Lopez Valdez counterfeit ring to becoming a licensed private investigator who cracked cases like the unsolved Quartermain jewel theft and the Spencer family espionage scandal. Monaco infused Sam with a magnetic blend of vulnerability and fierceness, drawing from her own dance background to choreograph intense fight scenes, like the rooftop showdown with a rogue WSB agent in 2015. Over the years, Sam's arc included invented subplots we adore, such as her undercover stint as a casino dealer to expose Sonny Corinthus's rivals, where she uncovered a human trafficking ring tied to international ports, showcasing her growth into a moral compass for the town. For many, including longtime watchers who tuned in during their formative years, Sam's journey mirrored real-life transformations, making her exit feel like the end of an era that shaped weekly rituals around the TV set. Her chemistry with co-stars elevated ensemble dynamics, turning potential rivals into allies through heartfelt monologues that explored themes of redemption and second chances. Among Sam's most cherished bonds was her playful camaraderie with Tequis Damian Spinelli, a friendship that injected levity into the show's darker moments and spanned countless adventures. From their initial team-up hacking into Edward Quartermain's encrypted files to evade corporate sabotage, to late-night stakeouts where Spinelli's quirky lingo clashed hilariously with Sam's no-nonsense attitude, their duo became a fan-favorite comic relief. Invented highlights include a 2018 episode where they infiltrated a black tie gala disguised as waitstaff to retrieve a stolen flash drive, leading to Spinelli accidentally spilling champagne on a mob boss and Sam improvising a distraction with an impromptu dance routine. This rapport extended to mentorship, as Sam guided Spinelli through personal turmoil, like his struggles with identity after a cyber attack exposed his past aliases. Yet, it was Sam's epic romance with Jason Morgan, the unbreakable Jasam pairing, that cemented her as a super couple legend in soap lore. Their love story, fraught with betrayals, resurrections, and tender reconciliations, captivated audiences through cycles of passion and peril. Jasam's saga boasted unforgettable milestones, none more whimsical than their secret wedding at the quirky Noodle Buddha restaurant in September 2011, where under strings of paper lanterns, Jason vowed eternal protection amid bowls of steaming ramen as witnesses. The ceremony, blending humor and heart, featured Jason fumbling vows while Sam laughed through tears, symbolizing their unpolished yet profound connection. Fans relived highs like their 2009 motorcycle escapes from assassins, zipping through rainy Port Charles streets, and lows such as the 2017 custody battle over their son Danny, where Sam's fierce courtroom testimony exposed hospital cover-ups. Invented additions enrich the lore. A 2020 quarantine subplot where they holed up in a safe house, sharing stories of lost loved ones and rediscovering intimacy through board games and stargazing, underscoring resilience amid pandemics. Even after separations, Jasam's spark endured, with stolen glances at Kelly's diner evoking nostalgia. When Steve Burton reprised Jason in March 2024, post his vaccine-related hiatus, the reunion nod was poignant. Though brief, Jason arrived just in time to hold Sam's hand in her final moments. As monitors flatlined, he whispered apologies for past absences, triggering a sweeping montage set to their signature Just You and Me ballad clips of beach walks, warehouse shootouts, and family holidays flashing by in emotional tribute. This closure, despite off-screen drama, honored the couple's legacy, leaving viewers in tears over what could have been. Sam's memorial service stood as a testament to her far-reaching impact, drawing nearly every notable from Port Charles to the overflowing St. Charles Cathedral in a spectacle of grief and gratitude. Maxie Jones orchestrated the decor with vibrant yellow lilies and sunflowers, Sam's favorite hues symbolizing her sunny spirit beneath the tough exterior, cascading from pews to the altar in a floral symphony. The casket, adorned with a massive portrait capturing Sam's sly smile from her pie days, became the focal point as eulogies poured forth. Carly Corinthos recounting their fiery clashes turned sisterly bonds, Alexis Davis praising her legal savvy in a tear-streaked oration. Sonny offered a mobster's vow of vengeance against Cyrus, while even foes like Nina Reeves admitted Sam's unyielding integrity, sharing an anecdote of a 2019 alliance against corporate greed. Invented touches included a video tribute compiled by Spinelli, featuring home movies of Sam teaching Danny to ride a bike and Scout's first steps, eliciting collective sobs from the assembly. The service closed with a group embrace among her family, Jason, the kids, and extended kin under a canopy of projected stars, evoking Sam's love for midnight adventures. It was a send-off befitting a queen of the canvas, blending solemnity with celebration. At her essence, Sam McCall defied categorization, morphing from a silver-tongued grifter entangled in scams like the 2000 for art forgery ring that pitted her against Lucky Spencer, to a trailblazing detective unearthing truths in arcs such as the 2016 ELQ sabotage plot. Her missteps, impulsive alliances with anti-heroes, and risky undercover ops humanized her, fueling debates where detractors decried her as self-serving, while admirers hailed her evolution as empowering. For this channel, Sam's allure lay in her authenticity. She mirrored the messy lives of fans, turning errors into triumphs, like redeeming her con past by mentoring at-risk youth in a 2020 to community program storyline. Her death elicited rare tears, transcending the just a soap dismissal, because these characters infiltrate our routine Zaring weekdays, weaving into coffee breaks and family chats, forging bonds akin to kin. Passion surges from that intimacy, explaining why GH devotees rally for favorites like Sam, whose absence leaves a void in the narrative tapestry. Reflecting on Sam's legacy evokes a bittersweet comfort. Even as later scripts sideline her for newer faces, her presence lingered in callbacks and dream sequences that hinted at unfinished business. Saying goodbye feels personal, like parting with echoes of youth spent debating plot twists with friends. A year on, optimism persists for Kelly Monaco's resurgence. Envision her as a cunning DiMera cousin on Days of Our Lives, stirring Salem with investigative prowess, or a sultry operative on The Young and the Restless, romancing Genoa City's elite. She might even cross over to Beyond the Gates, unraveling gated community mysteries with her signature grit. Sam's abrupt tragedy demanded more a resurrection via experimental revival tech, perhaps, or a twin reveal twisting the lore anew. Regardless, her indelible mark on General Hospital endures, a fiery force forever etched in Port Charles lore, sorely missed, yet eternally cherished. Next, we will delve into the turbulent and heart-stopping developments set to rock Port Charles in the coming week. The air is thick with anticipation as storylines converge, secrets teeter on the brink of explosion, and the residents of our beloved town find themselves at critical crossroads. From the hallowed halls of academic research to the shadowy corridors of power, from deeply personal betrayals to citywide conspiracies, the week of November 3rd promises a whirlwind of emotions and revelations that will leave fans gasping. So, settle in as we unpack the intricate web of deceit, ambition, and love that is about to unfold, examining each thread with the detail it deserves. Our first major focus is the seismic shift in the professional landscape at Port Charles University, a change that will send ripples through the lives of two formidable women, Dr. Britt Westburn and the young, determined activist Emma Scorpio Drake. The enigmatic and powerful Jen Sidwell, a figure known for her ruthless efficiency and cutting-edge, if controversial, research methods, will extend a job offer to the brilliant and morally complex Dr. Westburn. This isn't just any job, it's a position of significant influence, replacing the ousted Professor Henry Hank Dalton. Britt, ever the pragmatist and always seeking a new challenge where her skills can be both utilized and celebrated, is likely to accept, stepping into a role fraught with ethical landmines and professional intrigue. The laboratory she inherits is not just a workplace, it's a battleground of ideologies, a place where the line between groundbreaking innovation and dangerous overreach is constantly being redrawn. Britt's acceptance will immediately put her on a collision course with Emma Scorpio Drake, who has been waging a passionate, almost zealous, campaign against Professor Dalton and his alleged animal testing practices. Emma, fueled by the legacy of her activist parents and a fierce, unwavering moral compass, saw Hank as a clear-cut villain. But the arrival of Britt Westburn complicates the narrative in a way Emma never anticipated. This isn't a simple replacement of one antagonist with another, it's the introduction of a far more nuanced and unpredictable adversary. The history between Britt and Emma is not a recent development. It's a deep-seated feud that simmers with unresolved tension, perhaps stemming from a past medical crisis where their differing philosophies clashed, or even rooted in the complicated history between Emma's mother, Robin, and Britt's notorious father, Caesar Phazon. Emma's crusade is about to do a complete 180-degree turn. Her target is no longer a seemingly straightforward monster in Dalton, but a woman who is a product of a dark legacy, yet has shown moments of profound compassion and a desire to be more than her genetics. This forces Emma to confront a more complex reality, that the world isn't black and white, and that her next battle will require not just passion, but a sophisticated understanding of human nature. Britt, in turn, will find her new position is more than just a professional gig. It's a test of her very soul, forcing her to decide where she truly stands on the ethics of her new employer, especially as she discovers Dalton's more sinister activities, perhaps not just animal testing, but unauthorized human trials linked to a shadowy pharmaceutical conglomerate with ties to Port Charles' criminal underworld. Meanwhile, in a calculated game of high-stakes manipulation, Carly Corinthos is poised to savor the sweet taste of victory. Her recent machinations, a masterclass in deception and strategic planning, have been set in motion with one singular goal: to exact revenge upon the formidable Jack Brennan, a man whose actions have threatened the delicate balance of power and the safety of her loved ones. Carly's campaign was nothing short of theatrical. She enlisted the tech wizardry of the ever-loyal Damian Spinelli to craft a flawless digital identity, complete with a convincing backstory. She then adopted a disguise, transforming herself into an unassuming yet persuasive figure, allowing her to slip past security and gain a face-to-face audience with the incarcerated Valentine Casadini. This meeting was not a simple visit. It was a psychological chess match. Carly, with her piercing gaze and carefully chosen words, expertly played on Valentin's fears, his ego, and his desperate desire for a connection to the outside world, planting seeds of doubt and suggestion that would blossom into the exact outcome she desired. Her intricate web of manipulation is set to pay off spectacularly, as sources indicate that her efforts will directly result in Brennan making the decision to move Valentine to a facility significantly closer to Port Charles. This is a monumental win for Carly, granting her easier access to Valentine and strengthening her position in the ongoing power struggle. However, this victory is far from the end of the story. Jack Brennan is not a man who accepts defeat gracefully. He is a shrewd and dangerous player, and it's only a matter of time before he realizes he has been outmaneuvered. His retaliation, when it comes, is likely to be swift and brutal, targeting not just Carly, but the very foundation of her empire. This triumph, therefore, is not a conclusion, but the escalation of a war, a temporary high ground in a battle that promises to redefine alliances and test the limits of Carly's resilience and cunning. Her actions, while driven by a protective instinct for her family, once again blur the lines between heroism and villainy, leaving us to question how far she is willing to go to maintain control. The fragile foundation of Curtis and Portia Ashford's marriage is about to be shattered by a revelation of seismic proportions. Curtis, a man who has built his life on a bedrock of truth and integrity, is about to be confronted with a secret so profound it threatens to dismantle his entire world. The bombshell is delivered by none other than Jordan Ashford, his ex-wife and the city's police commissioner, who finds herself in the unenviable position of being the bearer of devastating news. The scene of this revelation is charged with unspoken history and tension, perhaps a tense, hushed conversation in a dimly lit corner of the Savoy, where Jordan, with a heavy heart and a sense of duty, tells Curtis what she has uncovered. The secret? Portia is pregnant. This news, which should be a moment of joy, is immediately tainted by a horrifying question that Curtis, reeling from the initial shock, will feel compelled to ask: is the child his? The doubt stems from a brief, regrettable encounter Portia had with the charismatic Dr. Isaiah Gannon during a period of separation and emotional turmoil in her marriage to Curtis. Now, Curtis must stand before the woman he loves, his heart a maelstrom of love, betrayal, and confusion, and ask the one question that could irrevocably alter their future. Portia's response will be a defining moment. Will she, cornered and desperate, confess everything, laying bare her fears and her uncertainty about the child's paternity? Or will she, in a moment of profound weakness, choose to lie, buying herself precious time until a paternity test can provide a definitive answer she may not be ready to face? This is more than just a potential infidelity. It's a crisis of trust that strikes at the very core of their relationship. It forces a deep analysis of their characters. Curtis, whose entire identity is wrapped up in being an honorable man, now faces a truth that could make him question everything he thought he knew about his wife and their life together. Portia, a respected doctor and mother, is not just a woman caught in a lie. She is a terrified individual grappling with the potential loss of her husband, her family's stability, and the respect of her community, all while carrying a child whose future hangs in the balance of this devastating secret. For Willow Tate, the path to freedom, which once seemed so clear and within reach, is about to take an unexpected and treacherous turn. The nurse, who has endured unimaginable hardship and fought so hard to reclaim her life, will receive a critical update from the formidable attorney Alexis Davis. However, this update will not be the good news she has been praying for. Instead, it will introduce a complication so significant that it threatens to derail her quest for liberty entirely, casting a long, dark shadow over her future. The nature of this complication could be multifaceted. Perhaps Alexis has discovered a previously unknown clause in her sentencing or a new, damning piece of evidence introduced by a surprise witness. This twist in her legal saga is further complicated by the volatile dynamics surrounding the key figures in her life: her mother-in-law, Nina Reeves, and her husband, Michael Corinthos, and their interactions with a mysterious new player, Jacinda Breckel. Who is Jacinda? Let's imagine she is not just a random character, but a ghost from Willow's past, perhaps a former foster sibling or someone who knew Willow during her time as Hope, who has been coaxed or coerced into sharing information that could paint Willow in a negative light. Nina and Michael, despite their shared goal of protecting Willow, have vastly different methods and motivations. Nina, in her misguided attempts to connect with her daughter, might make a deal with Jacinda that inadvertently harms Willow's case, while Michael, ever the strategist, might try to control the situation with a heavy hand, creating friction and mistrust. This external pressure forces a deeper analysis of Willow's own journey. Her struggle is not just a legal one, it's a battle for her very identity, a fight to be seen as the woman she is now, not the sum of her past mistakes. The complication introduced by Alexis and the meddling of Nina and Michael through Jacinda represent the final, most difficult obstacle. It's a test of her resilience and the strength of her marriage to Michael, forcing them to unite against a common threat or be torn apart by the strain. The freedom Willow seeks is not just physical release from confinement. It's emancipation from the chains of her history, a goal that now seems further away than ever. Finally, the political and personal landscape of Port Charles is set for a shakeup as Mayor Laura Collins begins to pull at a loose thread that could unravel a conspiracy of epic proportions. Her focus is on the shocking and seemingly out-of-character decision made by Veronica Ronnie Bard, a decision that has left many in the city, including Laura, deeply suspicious. Laura, with her unique blend of political acumen and personal intuition, will not let this rest. She will seek out Ronnie for a private, off-the-record conversation, a meeting that will be less of a friendly chat and more of a tense interrogation. Laura will use her skills as a former investigative reporter and her empathetic nature to probe Ronnie, searching for the truth behind her actions. Could it be that Laura will uncover the full extent of the coercion Ronnie faced? The theory that Ronnie was threatened, perhaps not just with professional ruin, but with personal harm to her family, by the powerful duo of Drew Kane and Martin Gray, is a strong possibility. Drew and Martin, operating from the shadows, represent a new kind of threat to Port Charles, one that uses leverage and fear as their primary weapons. Imagine they threaten to expose a deeply personal, long-buried secret about Ronnie, something that would not only end her career, but destroy her personal life, leaving her with no choice but to comply with their demands. This revelation would paint Ronnie not as a villain, but as a tragic figure, a victim of circumstance. This shared enemy could pave the way for one of the most unlikely and exciting alliances in recent memory, a team-up between Ronnie Bard and the indomitable Tracy Quartermaine. Tracy, ever the protector of her family's interests and a force of nature in her own right, would have her own reasons for wanting to take Drew and Martin down. The prospect of these two strong, opinionated, and often conflicting women putting aside their differences to fight a common foe is tantalizing. It would be a partnership born of necessity, fraught with tension and witty banter, but united by a common goal. This potential alliance signifies a larger theme. In Port Charles, the battle lines are constantly being redrawn, and sometimes the only way to defeat a powerful enemy is to forge a pact with someone you'd normally consider an adversary. Laura's investigation could be the catalyst that not only exposes a corrupt scheme, but also reshapes the power dynamics of the entire city.